Question was, and I guess those be anybody else who wants to know about this too. You got some friends that are going to DC, and you want to know how to get around the metro. That's a good question. If you don't know the metro, if you know the metro and you know the bus systems, you can get anywhere in DC, but it does take a while. Uber's a little faster, but again, there's a charm to the subway, depending. Okay, first let's talk about the smart card. The smart card is on the left side here, and you get them from what's on the right side there. And the smart card, these machines, you drop in $10 and you get your first smart card and it's got $10 on it. Now, depending on how far you're traveling in DC, that can be adequate. Probably not. And there's different packages. Like you can go and throw on a whole day pass for 17, or if you're going to be there a while, like maybe a full month, you get a month pass, and the month passes vary in price. So like where I was 4 miles away from where I worked, and so it cost me 265 to go one way and back, but $100 took off 260 of every trip. So even over a month, it still made more sense to buy that pass. The next level up, it took 275 off, but I never actually spent 275, so I would have been wasting money. And it's better to just have a little extra money on your card. Also, keep some cash on you because if your card empties out, often before you can leave the gate, there are areas where you can add more money to it. And if you can add money through one of two ways. If you register your card, you can add it through online, but I'll warn you about that. That can take up to 48 hours. Well, not 48, 24 hours. Hello, Momo. That can take up to 24 hours. Momo is very dirty. Um, to actually appear. So if you got to go somewhere relatively soon, go down there and add it directly in the machine. Don't do it online. If you know you've got a full day for your ride again, then go ahead and do it online. So let's talk about what we need to know here. Now, this is an example of, this is the WADA, the Washington area map. And so you can pick out where you want to go. It'll actually figure out how to get there. It also has the various schedules. I recommend you get real familiar with this website before you travel. And if possible, even set up your account if it'll let you do that. And so here's fares, and you got bus fares and Smart Trip and all that. And when you go through and you explore these, you'll start to see what I was talking about, how you can pay so much. So you're like, well, how do I even know? So that's where this comes in. This map is very important. And unfortunately, it is not to scale. You need to recognize that. So I actually lived up in here, and so it took about a good 4 miles. DC is not that big. It's scary if you walk around by yourself at night, depending on where you are, but it's really not that big. But it's a long haul if you got a bunch of stuff if you're groceries. And so I worked actually down here, and this one tells you that all roads lead to here. This was Lafayette Station, except for here and here. So you've got different trains, and this is where they stop. Get real familiar with these endpoints, because when you go down into the station, it may not be obvious which train you're supposed to get on, because you need to quickly look at the marquee, and it'll tell you, look at where it ends. And those end stations will tell you what direction it's going, and that's going to be very helpful to you. So you're going down here, and you're like, oh, I got to ride the red line, but I'm not sure which way to go, and I'm getting off of the yellow line here. Well, then I know the one is going up to Glen Rosetta or something like that, and the other one's going to Shady Grove. I want to get from here over to what was kind of like a little Chinatown where there's some kick-ass restaurants. So you want to look at the it'll list on the marquee what the last stop is, and that's how you kind of navigate. So you know, um, be ready to ride escalators. So you almost all of in the major city, it's several stories down, and so you come down inside every train. you'll see one of these. Some of the trains are modern and they'll actually show you where to go. Some not so much. There are some apps that will help you with that. And see in the back of the rail, there's that little scroller. That'll tell you what the next one will be. And also along the side, you'll see, um, well, you see more directions. But this map is almost in everything. And I also recommend printing out the map. And there is a, okay, so on apps, there's the DC Transit app at the top. That's a good one. But if you want one that actually, if you're just trying to get around, something that works really well is Metro Hero. Metro Hero will actually help you figure out where trains are. It'll figure out where if there's a scooter or something like that to take. It's really useful and it's good at tracking trains while they're in motion. So before you even go there, I would definitely get familiar with a couple of those apps. All right, rain. It can suddenly just spontaneously rain. In fact, how you're going to know it's going to rain is suddenly all the water will like adhere to your skin and you'll start dripping like you're perspiring. That's a good hint you're about to have a cloud burst. It didn't rain that bad until the day I said, hey, I noticed it hasn't rained that bad. And then I got soaked to the bone. So you want to be aware of that. Um, you also want to keep in mind that it gets a little warm. So if you're going to be walking around and stuff, during the daytime, there are food trucks galore everywhere. And if, depending on the kind of food you want, there is just all kinds of food. Now, it's not cheap. Whether you eat fast food, you're paying, 15 to 18. Or you eat real food, you're paying 15 to 18 to 25. That's okay. There's some really good restaurants there. Um, I'm a vegetarian, and if you're interested in a place that's really good, it's actually, you have to use a bus station to get to it, but Metro Hero gets you. It's called Pow Pow. Delicious. Even if you're not a vegetarian, it's really good. So I hope that answers any of your questions. Basically, you want to make sure you understand this map. You want to make sure, and like I said, it comes out, this is not proportional. So when you look at this and you're like, oh, I want to go to Arlington, stuff is really close together, but when you're on the ground, you can't tell. But learn this map. You want to look at the edges of where each one goes. So the Vienna or um, New Carleon. That's going to tell you whether you're going one way or the other, and that's exactly what it's going to show when you're looking at the marquees that are above the station where you go in. And the cards, I suggest you get your card and you put it in some place where you got easy access to it, because when you're moving, there's going to be a whole ton of people behind you, and they are not going to want to slow down while you start looking for your card. So have it someplace that you won't lose it, but you just whip it out and run it through. Oh, and you probably already know this, but on escalators, stay to the right if you're not marching up the escalator. Everyone who's in a hurry goes on the left. Everyone on the right, they just ride the escalator up. So you'll get your walking in. Your Fitbit will be very happy. So I hope that helps, and let me know if you have any questions.